For over 300,000 years, every single hominid born on this planet was held hostage by a relentless, invisible warden, the Earth's gravitational well. We were a species placed under strict biological quarantine, bound to a fragile layer of atmosphere, staring up at a glowing silver sphere that dictated our tides, our calendars, and our mythologies. The moon was the ultimate untouchable deity. It belonged to the realm of gods, perfectly insulated from the chaos of human history by a lethal, freezing vacuum. But in the summer of 1969, humanity committed an act of spectacular evolutionary defiance.
Okay. At the foot of the ladder, the lamb footbeds are only depressed in the surface about 1 or 2 inches. Although the surface appears to be very, very fine-grained as you get close to it. It's almost like a powder. Ground mass is very fine. And then a long one.
Okay, I'm going to leave that 1 foot up there and both hands down about the 4th rung up.
There you go.
Okay, now I think I'll do the same.
For those who haven't read the plaque, we'll read the plaque that's on the front landing gear of this lamb. There's 2 hemispheres, one showing each of the 2 hemispheres of Earth. Underneath it says, "Here men from the planet Earth first set foot upon the moon, July 1969 AD. It came in peace."
I guess you're about the only person around that doesn't have TV coverage of the scene.
That's all right, I don't mind a bit. How is the quality of the TV?
Oh, it's beautiful, Mike. It really is.
Oh, geez, that's great. Is the lighting halfway decent?
Yes, indeed. They've got the flag up now, and you can see the stars and stripes on the...
Apollo 11 was not merely a triumph of Cold War geopolitics or a masterclass in orbital mechanics. It was a species-level prison break. By harnessing controlled explosions to hurl 3 biological organisms across 384,400 kilometers of deadly void, we permanently altered the trajectory of our existence. Today, relying on NASA's historical archives and the cold reality of astrophysics, we examine the true legacy of the lunar landing. We decode the immortal fossil left in the dust, the psychological mirror held up to our civilization, and the exact moment mankind transformed a mythical light in the sky into a physical destination. To understand the profound permanence of Apollo 11, one must look at the specific physics of its landing site. On July 20th, the lunar module descended toward a vast, ancient basaltic plain known as Mare Tranquillitatis, the Sea of Tranquility. When astronaut boots finally pressed into that fine, charcoal-colored regolith, they accomplished something Earth's environment fiercely prohibits: absolute preservation. Our home planet is a violently dynamic system. Tectonic plates subduct, oceans erode, and wind relentlessly scrubs away the physical evidence of our civilizations. The greatest monuments of antiquity will eventually be ground into dust by the friction of the Earth. The Moon, however, is a geologically dead world. It possesses no atmosphere, no hydraulic cycles, and no wind. Because of this sterile vacuum, the boot prints left behind by the Apollo 11 crew are not temporary marks, they are ultimate geological fossils. Barring a direct micrometeorite strike, those indentations in the lunar dust will remain in pristine condition for tens of millions of years. Long after our modern cities have crumbled, and long after the continents of Earth have rearranged themselves, those footprints will endure as the absolute, undeniable signature of human ambition. They represent the very first time a biological entity from Earth left a permanent physical scar on another celestial body.
Despite the bulky spacesuits and the backpacks containing oxygen, temperature control, and communications equipment, the Apollo 11 crew found they could move easily about the surface. Because there is no wind or rain on the moon, these footprints will remain for centuries.
Yet, the most significant discovery of the Apollo program was not found in the lunar soil. It was found by looking backward. Before 1969, humanity's perception of its home was fundamentally fractured. We viewed the Earth as an infinite expanse, divided by insurmountable borders, vast oceans, and ideological walls. But when the crew of Apollo 11 looked through the quartz windows of their command module, those borders mathematically vanished. Suspended in the absolute, lightless void of deep space, the Earth was revealed not as an endless domain, but as a finite, incredibly fragile terrarium. It was a singular, swirling marble of blue oceans and white weather systems, protected by an impossibly thin halo of atmosphere. Sociologists and astronauts later defined this psychological shock as the overview effect. It is a profound cognitive shift that occurs when a human brain witnesses the entirety of its home planet against the backdrop of an indifferent cosmos. Apollo 11 forcibly extracted humanity from its local bias. It proved that Earth is not the entire universe, it is merely a tiny, isolated spacecraft hurtling through a hostile galaxy. The mission did not just conquer the moon, it fundamentally shrank the Earth, permanently redefining our species as the fragile crew of a single, shared vessel. Beyond the philosophical shift, Apollo 11 established a chilling, yet magnificent physical reality. When the ascent stage of the lunar module ignited to carry the astronauts back to orbit, it left behind its golden descent stage. Sitting silently in the Sea of Tranquility, surrounded by a deployed seismometer and a laser-ranging retroreflector, that metallic base became the first archaeological ruin in the solar system not built by geology, but by human engineering. We essentially seeded a dead world with human artifacts. We transformed the moon from an abstract astronomical object into a museum of 20th century technology. The sheer audacity of leaving a silicon, aluminum, and Captain foil structure on a heavily cratered sphere completely altered our relationship with the cosmos. The universe was no longer a realm we could only observe through glass lenses, it became a physical territory we could touch, alter, and inhabit. The untouchable deity had been reduced to a surveyed continent. The legacy of Apollo 11 is etched in absolute silence, 384,400 kilometers away from the noise of our daily lives. It stands as a monument to the precise moment when a species of bipedal primates refused to be confined by the gravity that birthed them. When the final chapters of human history are eventually written, the true measure of our civilization will not be the wars we fought or the borders we drew. It will be the fact that we possessed the sheer mathematical brilliance and the raw psychological courage to cross the void and leave our mark on the stars. We proved that biological limits are merely engineering problems waiting to be solved. Brief pause, 2 seconds of silence for impact. If the lunar footprints are destined to outlast human civilization on Earth, what do you believe should be the next permanent monument we leave in the solar system? Should we be aiming to build cities in the Martian dust, or focusing on preserving the fragile terrarium we currently inhabit? Drop your most profound evolutionary perspectives in the comments section below. If you are driven to decode the monumental achievements of our past and the terrifying, or inspiring mechanics of our future in space, secure your trajectory by hitting the like button and subscribing to this channel. The archive of human exploration is far from complete, and we will continue to document the journey. Keep your eyes fixed on the horizon.